Hi everyone, I'm Carlton D'Souza. This is Million Opinions, and today's episode we have Anita Bala, who's a pediatric sleep consultant. She's not a doctor, but she helps parents and children find their sleep pattern and get a restful night of sleep. Anita, welcome to Million Opinions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here.
So what is a sleep consultant, a pediatric sleep consultant in your case? Are you a doctor, by the way?
No, I'm not. I do get that a lot, but I'm not a doctor. So I'm a certified pediatric sleep consultant. So I did a course. So typically parents reach out to a sleep consultant when their babies or toddlers have sleep issues, and they are not able to resolve it by themselves. So this can mean when they're waking up multiple times at night, they don't have a routine. They're going through regressions, and they're having short naps. They're not taking naps.
Sorry, regression?
So sleep regression basically means that when a baby or toddler is sleeping well, and all of a sudden it goes out of the window. They start waking up and they don't settle well. So it's mainly due to the developmental milestone.
Okay.
And so it happens quite often in a children's stage, like from babies to toddlerhood.
So can we talk about the months to be specific? So for those who do not understand newborns and toddlers.
Yes, the first is 4 months. That's the main. That changes baby sleep cycles. And then comes the 8 months where they have separation anxiety. And then 12 months, again, it's because they're walking or like they're trying to talk. Then 18 months and then 2 years. Sometimes some babies have 2.5, but that's about it, yeah. My role as a pediatric sleep consultant is to help parents identify the sleep issues that the children is having. And then I try to create a customized sleep plan according to the family needs and the baby's temperament and the personality. So, and then this can be, they need some schedule tweaking or, self-soothing techniques, etc.
So when the child has colic, how does a sleep consultant help in that situation? Because the child wakes up, and for those who don't know what colic is, it's baby being very gassy.
Yes. Yes, for colic, babies with colic, it can be quite challenging. It usually typically stays for like 3 to 4 months. But there are ways that we can help it by establishing a consistent routine, bedtime routine. Swaddling really helps babies with colic. Use of white noise, the calming sounds really help them as well. So there are a few things that you can help them. Having said that, it's not going to be easy, but you can make it better.
Sleeping routine, how does that look like?
What we usually do is we're going to have a consistent routine before bedtime. So that can look like giving a bath, sponge bath, changing the diaper, changing the PJs, reading a book, singing a song, putting a white noise, swaddling. So it's just few elements, but if it's done consistently in the same order, the babies can anticipate sleep. So they know it's time to sleep. And when you do this over time, they know that it's time to sleep. So that's why it's important to establish a bedtime routine. And it's one of the most underrated actions that parents don't really do.
Okay, so generally scheduling a certain procedure before the child sleeps is what we're looking for.
Yes.
Okay. You also said that the sleep starts getting disrupted at 4 months. What do you do during that phase, and why does that happen at 4 months?
So it's actually, they call it 4 month sleep regression or progression, but it can happen anywhere between 3.5 or even 3 to like 4.5, 5 months. So what happens is when babies are in newborn stage, they have only 2 sleep cycles, that is light sleep and active sleep. When they go through this 4 month sleep progression, they get sleep cycles like adult-like. So from 2 sleep cycles, they get into 4 sleep cycles. And now they're very well aware of their sleep space. They're going to look for the same sleep association to put them back to sleep when they wake up after every sleep cycle. And every sleep cycle, a sleep cycle roughly is about 1 to 3 hours overnight. I've seen like majority of my clients, they come My newborn used to sleep for so long. They sleep through the night even. I used to get like 5 to 7 hours of stretch, and now all of a sudden they went through the sleep regression, and it's just they're waking up every hour, every 2 hours. What is happening? How is this possible? So this is exactly why it is. My daughter started sleeping on her own. She did not have any sleep association by like 8 weeks. That's like 2 months. So I can't really recall that she had a 4-month sleep regression, but I do remember she did have a couple of nights, which was rough, but then she was fine. So and I have worked with newborns who started sleeping on their own. See, basically it's about like not having any sleep association, right? So if they don't have any of that, and then if they know how to fall asleep on their own, the sleep regression will only last for like a couple of days or something, and then they're going to go back to their own self. So when I have worked with newborns, and they used to sleep on their own, and they used to have a good routine, and it really did not affect them much. And some of them did not even have. So like I said, I don't remember. Even for me, I can't really recollect if my daughter went through it.
So if I'm understanding you right, it is to help a child stay away from sleep associations.
Yes.
Some may translate this as we're going to just let the baby cry out. Is that what it is?
No, it's not. There's a very big misconception that you just let the baby to cry, and then you leave the room, and then you just come back to the next day. But that's not how it works. Picking out a method, there are a lot of methods out there. There are several methods out there, from most parent present to least parent present, and each approach also has various adaptations. So it all depends on each family's needs and each baby's temperament. Temperament is so important because we can't just pick a method if it does not suit the baby's temperament and their personality. So there's a lot that goes with it. Picking out a method is just one tiny puzzle piece. There's a lot that goes around sleep teaching babies. There's routine, there's the good sleep environment, consistency, wake window. There's so many things that goes along with it.
Wake window?
Wake window is typically a duration between the time they're awake to the next nap or the bedtime.
When you say sleep environment for the child, does this work on a shared space or co-sleeping when the child is sleeping with the parent?
There's co-sleeping and bed sharing. Co-sleeping means the baby is in the room but in the separate space. Bed sharing is where they're sharing the bed.
Yep.
So
let's speak on co-sleeping.
Yes, you have to be careful. So you can do it. You can, you both can sleep together. Co-sleeping is fine, but you will have to make sure that the lights are off or do whatever you need to do before the baby sleeps, because that can disrupt the baby's sleep. And so I would always suggest that, I've worked with a lot of co-sleeping parents because they have only one bedroom, or for whatever reasons, because most babies, it's recommended that they stay with the parents in the room until 6 months to prevent SIDS. So
SIDS being?
So SIDS means sudden infant death syndrome. So to avoid that, babies, it's recommended that they sleep with the parents. So since I've worked with parents who have babies from like 4 months, so some of them would like to, teach the babies how to fall asleep independently while sharing the room. So it's possible, but you just have to be very careful about, turning on. You shouldn't turn on the lights, or it could disturb them.
And bed sharing?
Bed sharing can be very tricky. So it's kind of possible. It's possible, but it can take a long time. But I would also say it can be a tease for the babies, because if babies have sleep association, feeding to sleep association, then you're trying to wean that off. It's gonna be also like a tease for them, because mother is right there, and then they would still want it. So it can be a very tricky situation. I don't work with bed sharing because I haven't experienced it myself. So I would prefer separate space, only because for safety, and the baby sleep much better when they're on their own.
So when you say separate space, you mean a separate room for the baby?
No, separate bed.
Separate bed,
Yeah.
okay.
Sharing the room is absolutely fine. We have also done that. So it's absolutely fine. I don't see any problem with that. but I'm talking about like sharing the bed, because I've done that maybe a couple of times with my own daughter, and I don't get enough sleep at all because she's all over the place and I am like in one corner. So and then it's very disturbed for both of us.
How important is sleep for the child?
There are so many reasons why it's important. One of them is physical development. So sleep releases growth hormones, which is important for physical growth. It's also good for immunity. It strengthens immunity. And it's good for self-regulation. So babies and toddlers, when they sleep well, they're able to manage their emotions better, leading to fewer tantrums and irritability. It's also good for overall health. Sleep also contributes to healthier heart, lungs, metabolism. It's also good for memory, and when during sleep, the brain processes and stores information, so which is good for memory and learning. So there are a lot of reasons why sleep is important, and adequate sleep is important, not just any number. I would recommend at least 10 to 12 hours of sleep overnight for babies 4 months and above.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You said that you train or help children find their sleep patterns, and it goes all the way to age 7. Why age 7?
Because there are still children out there who are struggling to fall asleep on their own. They're not able to connect their sleep cycle still. They're having tantrums. They resist bedtime or when they sleep, and then they always want to come to the parents' room. So there are so many reasons why children still are not able to get good sleep.
In the case where you have siblings, so you have a newborn and you have a toddler, and it's a co-sharing space. So they're sharing the room. The toddler has a separate place to sleep, and the baby also has a separate place to sleep. But the toddler's routine sometimes to sleep may not be timely. So that may disturb the baby. In that case, how do you work with the parents?
It can be tricky, but like I mentioned, as long as my main focus would be to establish a routine first, and then these small things can be overlooked, but it can be difficult. Like it can be tricky if you're working with a toddler, a child, and the parents in one room. It can be quite tricky. I've not really come across a case like that, but like I mentioned, I would first look at having a good routine in place, have a good wake window, have a good environment, sleep environment. And with the noise, like you mentioned, you can even use white noise, so which can kind of cover up the external noises. Light can be an issue, but again, if it depends on each baby. Like my daughter is a very light sleeper, so if I turn on the light, she'll just wake up no matter what time it is. But there are some babies who just sleep through the night, even with the lights on. So it really depends. But to answer your question, it's a very tricky situation.
Right. So I watch your videos and I see that your daughter sleeps for some time, and then she again manages to sleep in the night. So she takes a 30-minute nap during your travels or during your drives, and then she ends up sleeping again at her time. There are some parents who don't want their child to take a nap, the midday nap, so that they sleep earlier. Your thoughts on that?
So above 3 years, you don't really require a nap. 3+ years, you don't really require. But if the baby is dropping it on, if the toddler is dropping on their own, then it's fine. But if they're still taking, I would suggest to give the nap. Offer them the nap. So I wouldn't recommend. So if a baby or a toddler is below 3 years, I would still recommend to offer them the nap, because it's very important. Nap is very important. I would not recommend to drop the nap and then just offer them the early bedtime. That usually does not work, because they could be really overtired at bedtime, and this could backfire. They could have early morning wakings. They can wake up multiple times in the night. So it's not advisable to just drop the nap before the guideline, like I mentioned, before 3 years old.
We were talking before the shoot that some parents, they want their kids to sleep late so that they can wake up late.
Yeah.
And you're laughing because?
Because I've heard this statement so many times, and I just want to laugh right now, because that's not how it works. But I've heard it myself, like, my own family members or friends telling me this, oh, let your daughter just, let her have fun, then she'll sleep well at night. I'm like, no, it does not work that way. Babies need to sleep at a particular time. And usually the sweet spot is between 7 to 8. And why I say this is because before 12 a.m. is when they have the most restorative sleep. So we need to get them to sleep as much as we can before 12 a.m. That's one thing. Another thing is, if your baby is overtired at bedtime, and then they're going to have a lot of night wakings. They're going to wake up early in the morning. They will not wake up late. They'll actually wake up even earlier. And this has happened with my own daughter, with so many clients I've seen, because they come to me and they say, this is what I've tried, whatever they've tried. So they have tried putting the baby to sleep later, but then they wake up even earlier. I said, yes, that's exactly how it works. It's science. It's sleep science. It's basic.
When you're a new parent, the hospital say, you know what, you need to feed your child every 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they do this is because they want to stimulate the flow of milk for the mums.
Yes.
Because initially it's not really at its best. And then when the mum starts feeding and it becomes more regular, the flow is much more and it's consistent as well. So in that case, would you say to wake the baby and feed, or let them just sleep and not feed the child?
So this depends on two scenarios. One would be if the baby has not gained weight, if they're not gone back to their birth weight because they dropped the weight after they're born. If they've not gained the birth weight, then I would suggest to keep feeding them until they gain the birth weight. And if they are at that birth weight, I would suggest not to wake them up. And again, of course, please check with your pediatrician also. Otherwise, I don't see why you need to wake babies up, especially at night. In the mornings and during the afternoons, yes, you will have to feed baby every 2 to 3 hours. But at night, if the baby is sleeping, let them sleep. You don't need to wake them up because nighttime is for sleeping and daytime is for feeding.
So you mentioned that some of your relatives also said, you can keep the child up for late and then they're going to sleep late. When did you do this course then? Did you do it before your daughter was born or after?
After, definitely after. It's all because of her. I'm into this right now.
Because that's what you got. That's why you got into this?
Yes, that's because of her. Because I learned how amazing this is, and it changed my life. So I really wanted to change other parents' life as well, because not many people are aware of something like this. Because if you tell them sleep training or sleep teaching, like you mentioned earlier, they're just gonna think, you're just gonna put the baby to sleep, and you're just gonna put them in the room, and then you're just gonna walk out and let them cry themselves out. It's not how it works. And I never did that with my daughter. At 8 weeks, no, it was nothing to do with any of. It's all about establishing healthy sleep habits.
What's the biggest misconception that many parents have?
Crying it out is the only method.
Crying it out?
Yes, it's called. It's a traditional method where you put the baby in their room and then you say goodnight to them and then you walk out of the room and you don't come back until the next morning.
Oh, wow. That's harsh, isn't it?
I don't want to be judgmental because it works for some parents. There are also evidence that shows that it does not really affect the parent-child bond. But it sounds harsh, yes. I don't think I would do it. But it works for some parents and that's fine.
This is for what age?
This is for babies above 6 months old. That's why parents think that there's only one method out there and that's about it, And it all depends on choosing the right fit for your family that suits your baby's temperament, the personality, and also choosing what's comfortable for you.
Any other misconceptions?
Yes, another one would be parents feeding the baby thinking they're hungry at night. Every time they wake up, they think the baby's hungry and then they just feed.
Every time they cry as well?
Yeah.
Okay, if they cry, they're hungry. If they wake up, they're hungry.
Yeah. So this is another thing that people think that if the babies wake up in the middle of the night often, then they're hungry. But that's not actually what it is. So there are a lot of things that involves in it. It's because they're associating feeding with sleeping. So if you keep feeding them every hour, they're going to wake up after their sleep cycle again, which is 1 to 3 hours. And then they're going to look for the same sleep association that put them to sleep, which is feeding to sleep. You're basically reinforcing the feeding.
In our culture, this is not really common.
Yes.
How was the change accepted in your family?
They obviously didn't know about these things, and they were actually mind blown by how my daughter was sleeping on her own by 8 weeks, because all I had to do is pop her in the bassinet and she'll go to sleep on her own. So they were like, they were really surprised, and they were like, wow, this is something unheard of. And honestly, even I was surprised. I have a lot of nephews and nieces, and I have seen, they were rocked into their toddlerhood. So I have not seen anyone myself with, babies going to sleep as early as 8 weeks on her own. So they were also very surprised, and they were very supportive, and they were very actually proud of me. They were like, wow, this is so good how you're learning a lot, because I was a nerd. And, like any other new moms out there, Google is your best friend. So I used to Google everything, and I did a lot of research. I also took help from an expert, which made me, confident in what I was doing with my daughter. So they accepted really well, and they, like I mentioned, they were really proud of me and my husband, because we both were into it. We really wanted to set a good foundation for her, and we did, and it was amazing, and it was life-changing for us, honestly, up to date. So and that's exactly why I got into this field, because especially in our community, not many parents are aware of something like this. Again, like this, if I say sleep training, they're gonna take it to that cry it out method. So they don't really understand there's a lot that goes in it. It's not just about applying a method. It's about having a routine. Routine is the ultimate thing. Babies thrive in routine. Babies and toddlers, they both thrive in routine. So we just need to offer them that, and then they're gonna grasp it, and they're gonna do amazing.
Being unaware is not a problem at all. Awareness can always help, but sometimes when especially in certain cultures, sometimes when the younger generation tells how it's done, the older generation are not very open to it. But this is nice, as long as a learning took place and there's acceptance.
Yeah, because so obviously they saw what I did, and they could see it, that how amazing it is. So they don't question me, because they're like, okay, I'm sure you're doing something right. That's why it's happening, right? So they never interfered. They actually always supported me, my husband as well. So really, I'm thankful for that.
And sorry, Anita, I just want to ask you, since you mentioned your husband was also very supportive, how important it is for the dads also to be supportive in this finding a routine for the child?
So it's very important for fathers to be part of this routine, and I'm seeing a lot with my clients as well that the fathers are very involved. They're very hands-on. They want to be part of it. They're because nowadays even mothers are working, so they have to take their roles. So they both do it so beautifully, and it's amazing that how it all works out for a family. Like if the fathers are involved.
So how soon can one see results if they approach a sleep consultant?
Anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks.
So within 3 weeks is going to be perfect, a very good scenario.
I wouldn't guarantee that, but so far I've worked with all the clients and I have seen 100% success within 3 weeks. So the more hands-on you are with the approach, the longer it's going to take. By that I mean, like if you're going to be supporting your child in the when they're trying to self-soothe themselves, if you're going to be more present there, it's going to take a little longer. But if you're going to go into another approach where you want a quick approach, where you're just going to walk in and out of the room, and that's going to be very quick. It all depends on the level of comfort the parents have. Again, the baby's temperament, because some babies with high needs, they don't do well with just letting them cry for a while. So for them, we need to have hands-on approach.